Hello everyone and welcome back to the 3T Path channel. Welcome back to our Uddhava-gita course. So now we're in this new chapter, chapter 20. And Krishna is describing, he started by describing why we have to go beyond just concepts of good or bad in the material sense. We have to go beyond just yamas and niyamas, to be more precise, to use a more yogic language, because he described the yamas and niyamas in the last chapter, the first two steps of the famous Ashtanga Yoga process, which is brilliantly described by Patanjali as well in the Yoga Sutras. So he says, no, we can't just stick with rules and regulations, which the yamas and niyamas focus on. We have to go beyond. And then Uddhava was like, what do you mean? How can we not worry about what's right and wrong, about sin and piety? And then so Krishna is going beyond, talking about transcendence, talking about the path of yoga, going beyond matter. So we are currently in the 11th canto, chapter 20, starting with verse 12. And of course, if you want to watch all the previous classes, then make sure you just become a member of this channel, and the instructions are here in the description of the video. And then you go to Uddhava-gita.com, where you can see the whole course nicely organized. Okay, so verse 12, look at this. This is a great teaching. The residents of both heaven and hell desire human birth on the earth planet, because human life facilitates the achievement of transcendental knowledge and love of Godhead. Whereas neither heavenly nor hellish bodies efficiently provide such opportunities. So let's take a step back now and look first a little bit at Vedic cosmology, so we can understand a little better what Krishna means when he says both residents of heaven and hell desire human birth on the earth planet. So the idea is that you have the earth-like system, earthly planets like planet Earth, and then you have also a higher system called Swarga. So it's very famous if you look at general Vedic culture and the old Veda Samhitas, like the Rig Veda and other stuff. That was so that you could practice certain rituals, you could do certain offerings to the demigods, and then accumulate enough merit, karmic merit, to be able to take birth at these higher planetary systems. So Swarga, where life is so much better than life on the earthly realm. Much better enjoyment, huge lifespans, and everybody's beautiful, and free sex, and everything's so nice and wonderful, and the food's amazing. So the Swarga, so it's still material. So the demigods, they're not spiritual beings, they're not angels, they're just material beings that had accumulated great karma. When you see like Greek myth, it's that kind of same idea. So you have these beings, but they're envious, and they do stupid things, and they lie, and they cheat, and they rape, and so it's just like they're not angels at all. You don't look at the Greek gods and think, oh, they're so angelic. No, they're actually really rough and sometimes horrible. So our demigods, they tend to be nice. They try to, because they're supposed to be more sattvic, but they're just incarnated beings with great power. So that's Swarga. So that's heaven. So when Krishna talks about heaven, he's talking about Swarga. So you think, why would somebody who's living in like the Club Med of the universe, like with amazing food and sex and longevity and health, and everybody's beautiful, there's no bodily odor, these things are mentioned specifically. Why would they want to take birth as a human on earth? Here we are, we're like just suffering, and it's so hard, and it's so difficult, and people are ugly, and food's bad and scarce, and people stink. Why would you want to take birth here? Because you can have here on earth, achievement facilitates the achievement of jnana and bhakti, the two elements of self-realization. right? In the 3T path, I talk about the three areas for self-improvement: dharma, mindfulness, and inner peace. But then if you want self-realization, you need jnana and bhakti. So where can you get jnana and bhakti? And why can't you get it in Swarga? Well, you can't get it in Swarga because it's just too much fun. See, if you have too much fun, and then you can see this on earth. You can see this actually in our society. It's not a big mystery. You can look at the richest countries tend to have the least amount of religion. Because as countries get opulent and people get very comfortable, they tend to become very bodily focused. And they don't seek something beyond because what's in front is very nice. So why would I seek something beyond transcendence? Why would I want anything like that when I'm just having so much fun right now? And there's so much to do and so much pleasure. So that's why, a little bit of suffering is good because it makes you question. So yes, you don't want too much suffering. Now that's hell. So what's hell in the Vedas? So the Vedas understand the concept of hell. It's very different from the horrific concept of hell, which was later developed in Christianity. It wasn't something that Jesus knew about, or certainly nothing that he preached about, but something that developed later in Christianity, kind of getting some ideas from the Greek concept of hell. So they came up with this eternal damnation in hell, this eternally burn and it's a crazy idea. It's absolutely the most insane religious idea in the history of mankind, is the idea of eternal hell as described in Christianity. Like, why would God, your Father, all-loving Father, torture you forever? It is such a crazy idea. Can you imagine like a parent that tortures their children? It would, it's a monster, right? If you found out that somebody like tortured their child because they did something bad, even if it was something really bad. Let's say the child was like really bad and, killed a cat or something. But then you found out that the parents of that child started torturing the child because of it. You'd be like, what? Right? You have to like arrest these parents and put them in jail. And then not only did they torture for like 5 minutes or an hour or a day, no, forever. It's so crazy. Torturing someone forever is the most evil concept possible. So to attribute the most evil idea possible to the all-loving God is just the greatest insanity. So anyway, so it's not that kind of hell. So in the Vedas though, there is a different kind of hell. The hell is described in the Vedas. In the 5th canto of the Bhagavad Purana here, there's chapter 26, you can see a very detailed description of the many hells. So the way hell works is that for those people who have committed very sinful activities, such as there's specific mention of, for example, boiling animals alive. So that idea that you get the lobster and you put it in boiling water, that is such an evil idea. So that's specifically mentioned. That is specifically mentioned in the Bhagavad Purana in chapter 26. So there's a special hell for that. So you have to go to hell for that because it's so evil. You need to experience what that lobster just experienced because you have to connect better with other people, with other living beings, because every living being is a person, just the body is different. So you need to connect better. So then there's a specific hell. So when such a person dies, they're dragged, their subtle body, their material body, of course, stays there, dies. And then the subtle body, these Yamadutas, these servants from Lord Yama, who is the Lord of Death and the Lord of Justice and the Lord of Dharma. These Yamadutas were the servants of Lord Yama. They're not very nice. They're kind of rough. But they come and they have a special rope. They talk about this rope that is subtle. It's a subtle, you can't see them. And this rope binds your subtle body, because it's still matter. Remember, the subtle body is still matter. It's just subtle matter. And there's videos here on this topic if you want to know more. So they bind the body in subtle, and they use these special ropes to bind the body. They drag the body out, the subtle body out of the gross material body. And the person is like seeing them. The person is dying, but he can see these horrific Yamadutas. And so they get dragged, and then that person just gets dragged to this place in the universe. Hell is a place in the universe. There's like, there's a GPS location, as it were. If there was such a thing as a universal GPS, there is a location for hell. And so they get dragged there in a special, taken there very quickly. They get dragged there, and once they're there, they experience, there's like, imagine, those cinemas, you go to cinema and there's like 20 different cinema rooms or something. Well, hell is kind of like that, but there's like, there's a whole bunch of different, experiences, let's put it that way. A whole bunch of different VR experiences you can have. And you're having this experience in your subtle body. And then you get the experience, for example, the people who are like boiling animals alive, they get dipped in boiling oil over and over again. But of course, they're getting dipped in their subtle body. Because if you dip a material body in burning oil, it was going to be horrible, but then the person's going to die. But in the subtle body, there's no dying because there's no physical body to die. So you just get the experience. You feel everything, but it doesn't end because there isn't a physical body to collapse at the pain. So this is hell. And of course, this doesn't last forever. It's just like, you have this experience. So then it creates a samskara. It creates a register in the unconscious. And the person's like, oh yeah, being dipped in something boiling, not good. So that unconscious experience, lesson, gets engraved in the unconscious as a samskara. So then when that person then continues with their cycle of birth and death, they'll carry that lesson. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't boil animals alive. That's not very nice. And so they continue. So it's like a lesson. It's called I joke, it's like going to a Dharma spa. It's like a morality spa. So you have that experience just so you're like, don't do that. I mean, that's just like, that is way too much. Don't do that. So of course, if you're in hell suffering so much, then there's also no chance for jnana and bhakti, because you're being dipped in boiling oil, for example. There are other hells described, one day you can take a look at that. So, it's not something you want to, there's not enough peace. So too much suffering, you can't do it. You can't advance spiritually. Not enough suffering, just too much pleasure, and you get distracted. So both things distract our consciousness. Too much pain, too much suffering, and too much pleasure. As you can see also this world, you talked about like the richer countries being less religious. What about the richer people? It's very hard to see like very successful rich people who are actually like serious spiritual practitioners. It's very rare. You see a lot of like, poorer people that tend to be more, but as soon as they get very rich, you just don't see it much. And Jesus talked about this 2,000 years ago. He said it's easier to pass a camel through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter heaven. It's just like, it's kind of hard to, So it's something that's always, this is part of like natural human psychology. So these two things are very bad. So that's Krishna saying, so the residents of Swarga, so they get there and it's all fun, it's all like, whoa, this is great, but then they're like, oh man, we're not being serious about life, we're not advancing these humans. And so they start yearning to like take birth on planet Earth again, because it's like, wow, at least there we can have more access to spiritual knowledge. We can actually practice. We can have some, like not have so many distractions. And of course, people in hell are like, oh, I wish I could get out of here. So of course, they want to get back to planet Earth as well, to a human birth, because they're suffering horribly. So everybody envies your position. We are in the most amazing position. Like, no, it's not. It's the best position for the best thing. It's the best position, being a human, especially now at this moment. This is the most wonderful moment. Sometimes I tell people, look, this is actually the golden age. I'm like, what? This is the golden age? This is horrible. This is actually the golden age. We're living the golden age because the most important thing, which is your spiritual progress, has never been so easy. This is crazy. Here I am, I'm talking to you. And I know I have students, all over the world. I have students in Brazil and Chile and Peru and Sweden and Germany and France and Greece and the US and Canada. I have students all over the place. India. All over the place. And here I am, with this magical, mystical power to speak to you. And you can hear me anytime, and you can ask me to repeat the same thing over and over again. It's up to you. You can see it. It's there. It's available to you. So this is amazing. And like me, you have all the books. You go online. You download Bhagavad-gita. If you go to our Gita Mahatmya series, one of the things I point out in the Gita Mahatmya series, which you can check out, by the way, it's just gitamahatmya.com. It's free. You can check it out. It's really amazing. Where Lord Shiva tells Parvati the blessings, the powers of each of the 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. There are 18 videos on it. It's really amazing. But one of the things that I point out in the Gita Mahatmya is like, look, these people, they would have access to sometimes just one verse of the Bhagavad Gita. People just wouldn't, like, oh, how do I get the Bhagavad Gita? They would get like one, I got a whole chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So you'd have these Brahmins, they would just chant one chapter. That's all they had. They had available. I just have one chapter. So I learned the one chapter. And then so people was like, just focus on one chapter of just Bhagavad Gita. And now we have everything. We have Bhagavad Purana, Bhagavad Gita, Yoga, everything, every single text, literally like at the palm of our hands. This is like insanely advantageous. This is like, you have no idea how lucky you are, how lucky we are. I mean, I know how lucky I am. Very grateful because we're so lucky. We're so fortunate to have all this. So they're all envious to take this position. So the point is, take this very seriously. Take this very seriously, your human birth, your spiritual progress. Take it very seriously because this is the most amazing opportunity you're having. Very, very, very rare, beyond your conception of how rare and fortunate you are now. Okay, so now verse 13. A human being who is wise should never desire promotion to the heavenly planet, Swarga, or residence in hell. Indeed, a human being should also never desire permanent residence on the earth. For by such absorption in the material body, one becomes foolishly negligent of one's actual self-interest. So now here we're getting to the core spiritual teaching. Of course, you certainly should not desire birth anywhere else, in any other form, be it in Swarga. Of course, I don't think anybody's desiring birth in hell, but anyway, so certainly not in hell. But in Swarga, a lot of people are. People want to have beautiful bodies and beautiful sense pleasure and beautiful sex, and people want that. But you shouldn't want that. Krishna says, if you're wise, you shouldn't want that. And you shouldn't even want to stay here. Of course. I mean, it's like, oh, so should we just desire, more births on earth? Oh yeah, next time I want to be born as a pop star or something. I want to be a Bollywood actor. No, you should certainly not desire any such thing. Because if you do that, If you maintain your absorption in the material body, then one becomes foolishly negligent of one's actual self-interest. Why? Because your body is not you. So your self-interest is beyond the body. It's beyond all matter, beyond the entire universe. Our actual self-interest is to go back home, back to God, and to retake our lives in our real home, which is a spiritual realm next to God. That is the real life, the real home, and this is all a big, giant mistake. So we have to get out, we have to undo the mistake of being trapped in a material body, being trapped under the laws of karma, being forced to take birth after birth after birth. So this is basic spiritual jnana. This is Jnana 101. Text 14, a wise person, knowing that although the material body is subject to death, it can still award the perfection of one's life, should not foolishly neglect to take advantage of this opportunity before death arrives. So this is a very important point. People don't like to talk about death. People don't make plans involving death. But actually you should. You should be completely aware that, look, I'm in this human body on planet Earth. Wow, I super won the lottery. Like you won like the jackpot 10 times in a row. I mean, it's better than that. It's like, it's so rare. Just look around you. How many souls are in different bodies? What to speak of like plants and insects and beasts and birds and fish and just on planet Earth. And then, you know, the ones have taken birth in Swarga, the ones that are stuck in hell and stuck in other of the multiple 8,400,000 species of life, according to the Vishnu Purana. So these millions of different life forms. And here we are, we got the human body. So that's already like, wow. And then you got the human body on planet Earth, wow. And again, human body on planet Earth, now in this spiritual golden age, which you can't tell, but it's completely there, it's obvious. This is the spiritual golden age. So then you have all this going on, you have to say, wow, but hey, you know, it's a ticking time bomb. You know, all bodies are ticking time bombs. It's like they're gonna end, poof, boom, you're gone, you're dead. It's gonna kick you out. Your body's gonna kick you out. This is a body, it's matter, it's gonna kick you out. You're not the body, but you're inside the body, but death will come and kick you out of the body. And that is guaranteed. That is the only certain thing in life, is death. Saying is the truest saying, but it is true. The only certain thing in life is death. So you are going to die. Time is running out. How much time do you have left? We don't know. You never know. Sometimes you'll see that special blessing people can get. Well, they know exactly when their time of death is coming. So Patanjali talks about that in yoga. It's a very special blessing to be able to know. I mean, it's a little scary, but it's still nice. You know, this is the Bhagavad Purana. This is Shukadev speaking with Parikshit Maharaj. And Parikshit Maharaj, the whole Bhagavad Purana exists because Parikshit Maharaj was given his time. He says, in 7 days, you will die. And he took that as a blessing. Instead of just like freaking out and like, oh no, how do I get out of it? And trying to find like ways to get out of it. He said, okay, wow, 7 days. You know, start the timer. Big timer, 7 days to go, okay. You know, 6 days, 23 hours and 59 seconds. You know, the timer's ticking down. He says, okay, what do I do? So then he organized this whole Bhagavad Purana talk. So then he organized, let's sit down here. Guys, I'm going to die. You know, all the sages come, you know, so all the great sages. And then Shukadev came, and everybody said, okay, no, Shukadev, he's the best. He's the best one of us. He's Unidru, woke. He's the most enlightened one. So Shukadev Goswami sat there, and Parikshit just paid attention. He's just practicing spiritual life. He's got 7 days. I can't mess around. He was already a devotee of Krishna since birth. Krishna was there in the womb with him. But anyway, he just like, you know, I'm going to use my 7 days, just absorbed Bhagavad Purana. Which is, this is a pure spiritual practice. Shravanam, hearing Bhagavad Purana, topmost spiritual practice. Just by hearing this, you can feel it right now, right? I mean, I can feel it because I'm kirtanam, I'm speaking. So to speak and to hear, Shravanam, Kirtanam, super powerful practices. So if you're engaged either in, like I am, in speaking, or if you are in hearing this, you're advancing intensely. It's like an intense spiritual moment. So Parikshit Maharaj was like, okay, 7 days, that's it, I'm just doing this. And that's all he did. He didn't even eat, he didn't sleep. He was like, he had this blessing, like, I don't need to sleep, eat. Boom, I'm just hearing this until I die. Okay, so we don't have, you know, maybe we can't sit down and, you know, just listen to Bhagavad Purana 24 hours a day, not eat and sleep. No, we don't. That's not expected of you. But what you should do is that you are subject to death. You should be aware of that. But even though you are subject to death, your life can still award the perfection of one's life. You can get the perfection of your life. So you should not neglect this chance. You shouldn't be a fool and neglect this wonderful, amazing, rare chance to become enlightened, to get jnana and bhakti. So use your life, prioritize. You have to know what your priorities are. Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita, mat parama. So that means having me as the parama, the supreme goal. So get your priorities straight. Your supreme goal is to achieve Krishna, is to achieve your self-realization. That is your supreme goal. And your life is perfectly suited for that. You've been given the most amazing blessing. You're so fortunate. You have it. So take it. Prioritize it. And then everything else will be doing it as a practice of spiritual life. And that's the beauty of Bhagavad Gita. It's not saying like, oh, you should, you know, go live in an ashram, you know, walk out of your house naked into a forest and do japa there. No, it's just like, do your life. Yeah, sure. Take care of your kids and your job and whatever, and just do all your dharmas. Live all your dharmas. But do that for Krishna, prioritize Krishna. Make sure that your whole life is focused on your enlightenment. So this is wonderful teachings, wonderful verses. We'll be stopping here now. I hope this helped you, and have your rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of love.